at the Select Committee.
David Shearer.
Mr Chair, I've spoken on this bill before, and I have to say each time that I do this, I'm more and more realise that this is an abhorrent piece of legislation, and it's wrong in so many ways. It's wrong morally. It's wrong in the way that the process was followed. But, sir, I just want to say, when you go to that casino, as many people have not gone, perhaps in this House, and you walk through that main gambling area where all the pokie machines are all stacked up, the people who are putting their money into those machines, sir, they are not the high rollers that we're trying to attract from overseas. These are the people from my electorate and from South Auckland and from West Auckland who cannot afford to give away their savings, their salaries, their benefits into this machine, into those machines. And to think, sir, that this bill, this Act, will bring about another 230 of those machines, sir, obviously can only mean that more of those people are going to be trapped. And as my colleague Trevor Mallor just said, those machines are no longer just the simple machines where you put money into them. They are machines that operate on cards. They are machines where many, more than $20 at a time, can fleece you and take that from you. And that's basically preying on those people who are unable to ensure that they are able to step back from that and say, no, I can't do this anymore. And that, sir, is the real worry about this convention centre. It is being built on the backs of those people, the harm that it is doing for those families and for those people who are unable to resist putting their savings through those machines. 230 extra machines. Those machines which are programmed to take more money off people faster. Now, when this bill was, agreement was being talked about many months ago, I spoke to somebody from who was a former employee, senior employee of Sky City, and I said to them, "What's the deal going to look like?" And he said, "Well, if it was me, what I'd be looking for is an extension of my gambling licence by about 10 years. I'd be looking for a lot more pokie machines, and I'd be looking for the pokie machines that are able to take money off people much faster than the ones that we've got currently." Well, they certainly got a really good deal, sir, out of this, because they ticked all the boxes. But even he was shocked by the fact that there was a 35-year licence rather than the 7 or 8 years that he anticipated. And even he was shocked by the Court of Mentha's conclusions about how much money was coming back to Sky City. I believe, sir, that has been grossly underestimated. And other analyses that I have seen seem to demonstrate that is actually well under what Sky City is likely to make from this deal. Sir, that's one part of it. The ability to take more money off people faster, more money off people who can least afford it, more money to line the pockets of Sky City for 35 years. But the other part of it, of course, is how this deal actually came into being. And although this is more part of part one, sir, I want to touch on the fact that the deal was done without the other companies that were tendering for this contract, sir, having the same information that Sky City had. So instead of the Sky City deal being a Sky City deal, instead of it being a Vector deal or a Ngāti Whātua deal or an Infratil deal, and they having an ability to actually put up a proposal that might have satisfied the government, they never even got that opportunity. They didn't even know that the rules had changed. So Sky City was set up right from the very beginning, and that's why the Attorney-General said that the process lacked transparency, it was not even-handed, it was flawed, there were deficiencies on both the part of officials and on the part of ministers. And to say somehow, sir, Mr.
David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To say that somehow this arrangement, this deal was totally vindicated the ministers, of course, is absolute nonsense. So the other part of this is what exactly we are getting out of it. The convention centre at the moment, most of us would support a convention centre, but the Treasury documents and the Treasury analysis would indicate that actually the peak for a convention centre of this type may have actually passed, and the returns, the economic returns that we're expected to get, are actually going to be somewhat lower than what we expect. But, sir, I want to come back to the issue of the harmful effects, because most of the problem gambling organisations that I've spoken to talk about problem gamblers being in the order of about 40% of those people who are pulling the levers or pushing the buttons of those pokie machines. 40%. And it means, sir, that there is a huge increase in the number of people who are actually going to be going to Sky City and being involved in that addictive behaviour. And as we have tried to, in the past, decrease the number of pokie machines, and we've heard all about the issues and the problems of the bowling clubs and the rugby clubs around Auckland, who are slowly but surely decreasing. Some would say we need to do that more quickly, but certainly decreasing in number. Here we are increasing to a dramatic effect in the other direction. And let's remember that those machines and the rugby clubs and the bowling clubs, etc., give about a third of their income back to the community, whereas Sky City gets to pocket that and pays up about 2 or 3 or 4% of what of its returns back to any sort of community fund. So, sir, this is not just bad for the people who are addicted or sitting there putting their money and their life savings into it, supporting and backing and financing a convention centre, which I have to say is based on some pretty dubious economics. But it's also not giving anything back to the community whatsoever. On top of that, the jobs that were supposed to be created by this, as Grant Robertson talked about in his earlier intervention, are grossly exaggerated by this government in terms of what they are going to be producing. And any analysis of what has happened in Australia with these numbers of jobs created by these casinos will tell you that they are nothing like what the government is proposing. In fact, it's possibly well below 100, and many of those jobs are actually going to be in areas such as cleaners or bar workers, or in the lower paid proportions of our community. So don't get us wrong, this is not about economic development in the grand scheme of things that Stephen Joyce has always talked about. This is about furthering the profits of a city through the backdoor deals of ministers, and more specifically the Prime Minister. This is a shonky deal. It's a dishonest deal. It takes money from the pockets of ordinary New Zealanders. It creates harm in our society, sir, and that's why most New Zealanders, when they look at this deal, know that this is wrong and that they feel that they've been duped and wronged by this government in ensuring that this sham gets put into our city. In the middle of our city, it takes up several blocks of land where people are going to be going in their tens of thousands and putting their money into machines, money that they can ill afford to do, sir. So, sir, this is why I feel particularly aggrieved by this happening in my city, And when I go through that hall, and I see the sort of people that are putting money into those machines, and I see the sort of people who are going to be putting money into those machines at a multiple increase to what we have today, then, sir, that's why I'm standing here with my colleagues and absolutely opposing this deal.
Grant Robertson.
Mr. Chair, for that. Mr. Chair, I want to refer to the first clause within Part 2 of the bill, and that is where we have a discussion about the